and peas. So it's a nightmare. But yes, today on Last Meal on Earth, we've got Stuart Robert. I hope I've got it right that he's a creative chef. I
That's
suppose,
correct. Yeah.
the next thing on his long list of achievements will be a writer.
Yeah.
But
Well, sorry. Do you? Sorry, I'll let you talk. You tell me when you want me to respond. Sorry
oh,
about
that's
that.
okay. No, no. I mean, you can say what you like. I mean, I've got number of questions, but so the first question is: where were you born? Where did you grow up, and where are you living now?
Okay, I was born in London. Lived for a short amount of my time, up to about 6 years old in London. Then moved out to Berkshire.
Mhm.
My dad was working in Brentford, and it was taking him so long to get from where we were in London to Brentford that he moved us all out to Berkshire. A very, very quiet, sleepy little place called Twyford.
Mhm.
And I think he was getting into work. It was maybe it was 45 minutes from Twyford to Brentford, whereas before it was like an hour and a half just to get maybe 10 miles across London.
So, what was your life before pursuing your career as being a creative chef?
Oh crikey! Okay, so um, how best to start? So I'm I'm dyslexic, and it wasn't discovered that I was dyslexic until I was about 15.
Mhm.
So I struggled all the way through school as the problem child or the thicko or the most disruptive. I spent most of my lessons outside the lesson, standing in the corridor or in front of the headmaster getting a cane.
Yes, yes.
Um, I left school with a desire to join the army. Probably the biggest mistake I'd ever made because that really, really wasn't for me. I came out of there and I was a bit of a lost soul, to be fair. And I would have just looking for any job at all. And a job came up, and God, this is going to come back and bite me, I know. But my first ever catering job or cooking job was in McDonald's.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not the greatest start to anyone's career, but you got to start somewhere. So
Yes, yes.
um, I'd found myself not necessarily enjoying the tills, but really enjoying the grill.
Mm.
Taking my time, understanding how to cook the products, and that really sort of became my passion for cooking. I didn't last at McDonald's very long because I was a little bit disruptive, not backwards, but I hadn't had the same kind of education that everybody else had because I spent most of the time outside the lesson. So, so, so um, I had moved from there. I think I did another couple of other jobs, maybe some building or construction, painting and decorating, that kind of thing, before I went back into cooking. Um, and I'd found myself at a local health club where there was a really, really good chap, a Greek chap called Vasilis Constantine, a really, really friendly guy. And he'd seen something in me
Mm, mm, mm.
and suggested that I pursue this further, but he said you really need to go to London. You need
Yeah.
to go to London and work in a proper kitchen. He said I can get you a job as a commie chef in this was Cafe Bordeaux in Coptic Street, West One. I don't even know if it's still there, but it was right in the heart of Theatreland.
Mm.
So I went for this job. He said, yeah, you can start virtually no interview. And I start, but I'm not actually a commie chef. I'm a KP, a kitchen porter. And I arrive in the morning and they say to me, firstly, never ever be late. Never be late.
Mm.
If you're late, you'll never be late again. Well, I'm going to jump into this quickly. So I was late once. They locked me in the freezer for 15 minutes and I was never ever ever late again.
That's quite brutal, though, isn't it?
That is quite brutal, but you learn very, very quickly, yeah?
So,
Whatever the chef says, just do it. Don't ever question it, just do it. And I would arrive in the morning from there on in, and I would have to peel 2 sacks of onions. I'd have to peel, chop, and batten 2 sacks of carrots, and I'd have to de-beard 2 sacks of mussels every single day before I could even get on with my washing up, which was piled from the floor to the ceiling, as far as I could see, pots, pans, plates, cups, saucers, the lot. Excuse me.
Yep.
My chef at the time, he said, whatever you do, just keep that machine running. It's not gonna sigh, it's not gonna cry. So the machine, just keep it stacked up. So that's what I would do: keep the machine running, wash continually. And whilst I was washing, I was watching so they had a cool chef who was just like a salad chef, a commie chef, senior commie, junior chef de partie, senior chef de partie, junior sous, head chef. So I was watching what the cool chef was doing and what the commie chef was doing. These guys were both Brazilian. I remember that because it was very difficult to understand them. And one day, neither of them came to work, and the chef said, "Well done, mate." He said, "You've been upgraded. You're now the commie." So, oh, great. He said, "You're still the KP as well, but you're the commie as well." What? Yeah, he said, so after you've done your carrots and your mussels and your onions, he said, then you've got to do your own prep and do the washing up. I was thinking, crikey, and this is like an upgrade, yeah, a huge upgrade. Now I believe I'm actually a chef. I'm not actually a chef, but I'm sort of getting some training. And I start performing, not doing much. We were doing, I think at the time it was a tomato, mozzarella and avocado salad. That was pretty much the table d'hote. And they would do 3 table turns at lunchtime and 6 table turns at night. It was insane and insanely hot. We're down in the below basement, so not the basement, but below the basement one, whatever that floor is, working on oil-fired ranges. Yeah, they've probably been in there since the Victorian times. The head chef was a Polish guy, massive alcoholic. Yeah, you never ever questioned him ever. And I was sort of slowly working my way up. They said to me, we can send it to college if you want, or you can stay here on your college days. We'll teach you more and we'll pay you. Not being a great academic in the past, I decided to stay in the kitchen. I did learn a lot more. And after a little while of being the commie, I couldn't see myself progressing any further. And I remember I used to get the crikey. So bearing in mind that this is West 1 London and I'm living in RG10 Twyford. Yes. I'd have to get the X1 bus at, I think it was 5:30 every morning. My mum, God bless her, would take me to the bus stop and pick me up because it was maybe 3 miles from our house where the bus went from. So upon leaving the restaurant one afternoon or one evening, I remember looking at a copy of the Evening Standard, and in the back it had all the jobs. And I saw a job for a junior chef de partie at a bar in Covent Garden called Freud's, and it was like an art bar. They had people's paintings and stuff hanging on the wall.
Okay.
And although the menu was much, much less than I'd been previously working on, essentially I was the chef there. I didn't have a head chef to answer to. They just gave me the menu, so that's what you're making, away you go. And that was busy there, mate. Super busy. Maybe doing 120, 150 lunches, all sorts. Guacamole and salsa, chips and dips. Nothing really major. More like lots of croque monsieur, croque madame, that sort of thing. So that was okay. At least it got me away from the sweatbox, yeah, because that was insane in that kitchen.
I suppose that's where you start.
Yeah, and you've got to know. I think you've got to start in the brown, smelly stuff to know where you don't want to go back to. And after a little while at Freud's, I had sort of outgrown that position. I remember seeing a job for junior sous chef at a place called Monkey Business in Covent Garden. And I went for the job. They really, really liked me. I've been quite fortunate that people do like me.
Yes.
I don't know if it's my good energy or whatever, but they liked me. They didn't ask to see any credentials, nothing. So I started as a junior sous. I didn't have flipping clue what I was doing. I managed to blag it all the way through. If they asked me to do a specific dish, if I couldn't do it on the day, I'd come home, ask my mum or my dad, and we'd go through some recipe books that night. And in my mind, I'd play it through, maybe make the dish at night at home, and then go in and then perform as part of the brigade.
Yeah, yeah.
Then a friend of ours had taken over the restaurant at Newbury Racecourse, and he'd actually approached me and said, "Oh, do you fancy coming and working over here for us? We need a chef. We need a head chef." I thought, well, why not? I didn't even know I was a sous chef until I went for the job as a junior sous. Then I was a sous chef. So I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, come on, I can do that. And I went over to Newbury Racecourse, and they wanted a themed menu. So there was like the John McCurrick steamer. I think it was like a steamed sea bass with burnt fennel, something like that. So everything had a kind of had a sort of horse racing-y theme. Well, fortunately for me, the restaurant was dead. I think in the year that I was there, if I fed 100 people, that's all I fed. And mostly that was the guy, the family friend of ours, and his friends.
Gee.
Yeah, so I was quite fortunate there. So I kind of now I'm the head chef. Yeah, I'm not really the head chef, but I let my ego get the better of me, and now I'm the head chef. So I believe that he took his money out of that restaurant, and I'd left there after he took his money out. And I went and took a job at a place called the Red Lion in Peppard Common at the top of Henley-on-Thames. This was a new guy taking over an old pub, and it was completely my menu. Everything on there was mine, which was great. It was a pub, so a lot of very, very high volume food. So it's not like I could make everything personally. So a bit of it I was buying in, a bit I was making. And at that time, before a previous role, I think it was at Monkey Business, they had a deep fried brie in tempura batter, and they had it with trying to think what it was. It was some damson chutney. I didn't like the chutney. It was horrible. So while I'm writing my menu for this guy at the Red Lion, I'm saying, "Oh, Lester, we could do a deep fried brie." And I don't know how it sprung into my mind, but I thought, let's think of something to go with that. Okay, we're going to do a red onion marmalade. I was only thinking because red onion, onion you could slice thin. The slices of onion would look a bit like the orange peel. So I started making red onion marmalade. Well, my God, I do more deep fried brie than anything else. People are coming in and asking if they could buy a jar of the marmalade.
That's amazing.
They loved it. Yeah, they honestly. And then I don't want to claim the kudos for it, but after that, everywhere started doing red onion marmalade, and it became a thing. But I like to think that I invented it.
Maybe you did. I mean, it always only starts at one place, and it gets to people with, they go to another place and said, "Have you got this?" And they go, "It makes people think."
Yeah. So I lasted there for crikey, and that was busy. I remember I think it was either Father's Day or Mothering Sunday. I did 365 lunches out of there, and it was a tiny little galley kitchen. It was me and a commie KP. Whew, that was insane, insanely busy. Yeah, 365, something like that. Incredible. We couldn't get the plates back in quick enough, so we could get plating them up again to send more food out. That was insane, and that kind of gave me the idea that I don't really like high volume food. It's not really what I want to be doing. What I really want to be doing is good quality food, cooked with love, at a decent pace, not flat out continually chucking stuff out the freezer into the fryer. That ain't me. So I couldn't actually find a job that was going to allow me to do that. So I think I took a big break away from catering. And a friend of mine had a building firm, and I went and did a bit of work with him. I went and travelled a little bit. And I remember I saw a job for a chalet chef in Switzerland,
Mm.
and I went for the interview, and they said, "Oh, there's two provisos for this job. You've got to be able to drink and still get up in the morning, drink heavy and get up in the morning, and you need to be able to snowboard or ski." Well, I couldn't snowboard or ski, but I could certainly drink. And I took this job. And they would keep saying to me, you coming up the hill? They call it the hill, going up the mountain. I said, I've got too much prep to do. I've got too much prep. They're always making up an excuse for not going up the hill. They eventually dragged me up there and found out very, very quickly that I couldn't snowboard for toffee. But they loved me so much, they gave me pro lessons. And in 3 pro lessons, I could rip like anybody else. Then, as part of your sort of package, you get a ski pass, and the ski pass covers you for all the local services, essentially. Like, you'd get access to the swimming pool, the sauna, the gym, anything that was owned by the local council. I'm trying to think what they called that. Anyway, can't remember.
Is it the local canton or?
You like that, yeah. Something like that, but essentially the local council, but the Swiss version of that. And I remember sitting in the sauna one day, and I would strike up a conversation with anyone, even just to break the silence. And I was chatting with a chap in there, and he was asking what I was doing. And I explained that I'm working as a chef, and we got 3 chalets. He said, "Oh, 3 chalets? So have you got any room in there?" I said, "I think we've got some room over Christmas." He said, "I'll potentially have everything you've got until April." I said, "Well, you haven't even seen them yet." No. He said, "It's fine. I'll have whatever you've got." So I said, "Well, I can't make that decision. I'll have to introduce it to my boss." Introduced him to the boss. He did. He block booked 2 of the chalets for 5 months. And one of the other chalets was sort of partly booked out. And he booked it out for the times when it wasn't booked out. And he said, "I've got the first people coming over are Def Leppard." I didn't even know who Def Leppard were. I just thought it was some kind of cult or something. I didn't realise these guys came over. Wow, talk about drink. Woo! I don't think I ever saw one of them go up the hill ever. They just partied non-stop, and that was a great little thing for me. The second one out was Colin McRae, and then the third they bought this. I don't even know. This manager essentially came over and said, "Right, the person you'll be cooking for now is a A-lister VIP. Everything has to be done in a certain way. All of the yolks have to be central to the egg. Yeah, and they have to be perfectly round. The bacon's got to be cooked like this. The ham's got to be presented like that. The melon has to be in balls. This has to be that. All this great big list of stuff that has to be done. You're not allowed to look at this person. You're not allowed to talk to them. If they engage with you, keep the conversation minimal and get out of there. It's not for you to be talking to them." So it was okay, and I didn't see the celebrity for, I think, maybe 3 weeks, because I would just lay the food out and then I'd get out of there.
Yeah.
But on one day I laid the food out, and I was in the back kitchen, in the wet kitchen, making my own breakfast, and I've got my pan smoking hot, yeah, and I crack my eggs and I pop them in the pan, and they're spitting and snarling up and bubbling up, and this little voice pops over my shoulder and says, "I'd like mine like those." And I kind of shit myself. Like, who the fuck's that? I've looked over my shoulder, it's Diana Ross. I'm like, do I speak to her? Don't speak to her? So I said, "Love, you can have anything you want." "Oh," she said, "it's so long since anyone's called me love." I said, "You can have anything you want." She said, "I get the same food everywhere I go." She said, "It's so damn boring." Yeah, she said, "I'd like mine. However you have yours, that's how I'll have mine." She said, "In fact, can you and I just have breakfast every morning?" Sure. I'm still kind of gobsmacked. Yeah, sure. Have anything you want. So I started doing her and I breakfast. Yeah, we're just having bacon and eggs most days. Bacon and eggs, a bit of fried bread. She said, I'd never had fried bread before. Said, well, there you go. Let me introduce you to the English Institution of Fried Bread. What? Yeah, she loved it. So after about, maybe only after about 2 weeks of doing this, she said, can you come and just be my chef and not cater for the other chalets? I said, I don't know. You'll have to speak to my boss about that. So, long story short, I ended up becoming her personal chef, all over the back of some nasty, dirty fried eggs. No
That's a really
qualification.
interesting story. Yeah.
Yeah, no qualifications, nothing. I left school with my lunchbox. In fact, I was booted out of school at 14.
Mm.
I think my dyslexia, I didn't really realise how much my dyslexia had played this big part in my life. And that's one of the reasons why I'm writing my book now, because there's been so much happen within this, within my life that when I first met my wife and I was saying, I was previously, I was personal chef for Diana Ross. She didn't believe me for about 8 years until my cousin, who had come out to see me in Verbier, said, oh, yeah, he was a Diana Ross chef. Oh, she said that was the truth. I said, oh, thanks. Yeah, it was in truth. Yeah, so Miss Ross, as she preferred to be called, didn't like being called Diana. Miss Ross. She would say, I'm going to be away now for 2 months, but just use the house as your own, use the car as your own, go up the mountain, do whatever you want, and I'll give you, I'll get a message to you, I'll email you and let you know when I'm coming, how many guests are coming, and if there's any specific requirements for them. She said, can you do anything a bit different? I said, yeah, sure. So I don't know why I even thought about this, but I said, yeah, why don't we do a barbecue up the mountain in the snow? Oh, she's almost wetting her knickers. Oh, this sounds great. Great, let's get up the hill then. I had no idea on how to get the stuff up there, even if I could get it warm enough, no idea at all, just blagged it. Luckily, managed to get up there, managed to do the barbecue up the hill. Crikey, this is long before the days of a camera and a phone, otherwise I'd have loved some pictures of that. Anyway, they just picked at a few bits, but I think it was more the theatre of having something different up the hill, yeah, something she could offer her guests. That was great. Then when the season came to an end, what did I do then? Most of my pals were going to Juan La Pan or Corsica, and I didn't really fancy that. So a pal of mine was working out in Southeast Asia, and he said, come out here if you want. So I did. So I kind of dropped the cooking for a little while and went into some other stuff with him. That was another interesting part of my life. He said, do you want to be a stockbroker? Well, hold on a minute. I was never even a sous chef and I got a job as a sous chef. He said, yeah, sure. So what have I got to do? He said, no, just do what we tell you. And that's all you got to do. Well, it turned out it wasn't actually a stockbroker's job. It was working in a boiler room.
I see, yes.
And after a very short amount of time, at the time when this thing happened, yeah, I thought it was a joke because the doors to our office burst open. There was TV cameras, FBI, NBI, SEC, all these guys with letters on their jackets, and they said, "Stop what you're doing! Put the phone down there!" Blah 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 blah. And I thought, it's a joke, so I just carried on doing what I was doing. Anyway, it wasn't a joke. So we all got arrested there, spent a bit of time in prison there, and all got deported. Needless to say, I came back to the UK thinking maybe stockbroker's not really the job for me.
Well, that really it wasn't really stockbroking, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was making people broke.
Yes.
Yeah. Came out of the UK, and my kind of confidence had taken a bit of a battering through the time in the prison out there. And I came back and I just looked for any job I could get. And the only job I could find, grill chef, was working in a harvester. Another brutal, on the line, freezer to fryer, everything on the grill, either BTF or rare. BTF is in burnt tough. Anyway.
Yeah, yes.
And I went from a harvester to like another kind of chain pub, two or three of these chain pubs, and I realised, you know, this really ain't for me. So I had started working with another guy doing some event catering. And then that was good, like tour chef, working all over the country. But again, that was quite demoralising because everything I was doing for someone else. I wasn't actually everything I was cooking was someone else's recipe, someone else's dish.
Yeah.
And if I don't like it, I can't change it. I've just got to do whatever they say. And that didn't really bode well with me. So a friend of mine said, if you can't find the job you want, why don't you make the job that's right for you? Right? I didn't really.
You've had some amazing advice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did that, and I started up Meat Stews. As a nickname I had when I was younger, I'd answer the phone. I'd ring people up, and they'd say, "Who's this?" I'd say, "It's me, Stu," and that got shortened or bastardizes into Meat Stew, and that was my nickname for, crikey, I don't know how long. Maybe even some people call me that now. Still, Meat Stew and dumplings. Anyway, so I thought, what a great name for the firm, Meat Stew. Meat stews, no meat stews. Initially started out with the no meat stews because I wanted to do a sort of vegetarian vegan offering.
Yeah.
As I kind of saw that the world was going down the plant-based road, and I thought maybe I should be at the cutting edge of that. So I practiced a lot, and I still do quite a lot of plant-based stuff. But 85% of my guests just want to eat the best bit of steak they can find.
Yeah.
Scallops that were living sort of 12 hours ago, shrimp the same. They want the best of the best, you know, and they don't really see that jackfruit ribs are the best of the best. They kind of see that as low rent pub grub. But you kind of got to do what they want. So
Yes.
I kind of reworked the no meat stews to mean, you know, you're never going to get a stroganoff out of me. You're never going to get boeuf bourguignon. You're never going to get a stew. You're not getting any dumplings. I'm not doing soups. I won't do lasagna. I won't do pub grub. I won't do any of that rubbish. All you're going to get out of me is fine dining. So as I was sort of trying to gain some clients, I saw a job as a breakfast chef. Thought that'd be great. I could get in, get out nice and early and still do my own stuff. And this was working in a really, really beautiful old country house that opens itself up as a wedding venue. It's a place called Hedsor House, Hedsor. So I was working for one guy there, and he wasn't a chef. He really, really wasn't a chef. And I was thinking, how on earth have you got this operation when you're not a chef? You buy the nastiest, cheapest, most horrible product you can find, and you're feeding people that are spending sort of 50 or 100 grand a day to come here. Anyway, needless to say, he lost that operation, and they put it up for public tender. They'd asked, and I didn't tender for it, and then the owner and the operations director emailed me privately and said, "Would you please tender for this?" I kind of took that as a green flag and a sort of shoe in, so I did tender for it, and I got it. So I changed the entire menu, themed it all, so everything had a little bit of Hedsor in it. You know, I've created their own coffee blend, their own orange juice blend. I do a ginger shot that has their own honey in it. I make their granola. Everything is bespoke to the house, and you'll only ever eat that food at the house. You'll never be able to get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
All my bacon's dry cured, smoked over beech and oak. My mushrooms are grown in the woods, and you can taste all of that in the product. It's incredible, really, really is. I make fresh bread every day. I don't know anywhere I don't know anywhere that does. I'm sure there are places that do it, but we make fresh bread every day. Everything is of the highest possible quality. And then whilst I'm there, I'm picking up other bits of private dining for Meat Stews, which is fantastic. So now I'm almost getting, no, I wouldn't say too much work for Meat Stews, but I'm getting a lot of work with Meat Stews, and I'm almost having to push the house to one side and have to get other chefs to cover my work so I can really continue with my passion, which is serving great quality food to people who enjoy eating great quality food. And pretty much me. Sorry, I've probably done
Oh
your
no,
full.
that's brilliant. I mean, it shows your passion for the food, which is your own. I mean, that is what I'm looking at when I get stuff. I mean, you know, specialist cheeses, specialist cut straight from the butcher.
Mm,
So, you know, I'm torn from going to a lot of establishments that don't actually do that. You know, very simplistic food, as I call it, with good quality product.
correct. So I by sheer chance, I bumped into this. Well, I didn't bump into him. I was out drinking one night in the club, and I was talking to somebody in there, and I was saying about, this is what I do, and recently I've just done this. I did a stuffed fillet steak with a truffle duxelle, and this guy said, "Ah, it won't be as good as my fillet steak." I said, "Oh, go on, what's your fillet?" Oh, he said, "Well, no, I don't sell it." He said, I'm like an artisan farmer." So go on, explain a bit more. So he was telling me he does I think he does something like 6 cows a year
Mm.
that he slaughters. And he said, they get loved. They get music played to them. He said, I feed them beer. They eat barley. He said, on the odd occasion, they'll get a little massage, but they are looked after. They're grass fed. He said, they couldn't want for a better life. He said, they're killed humanely. They're not put under any stress, anything at all. He said, and you taste this in the meat. He said, and then I dry age it 32 days in a cave. I said, go on, explain the cave. He said, well, you can control the moisture in the cave. You can control the temperature, and to a certain degree, the meat mineralizes from the rocks around. I was already blown away, so I had to try this. I bought some of this fillet. I presented it to my guests. I got the first time I've ever had this, I had a standing ovation over this meat. It is incredible. You can cut it with a butter knife.
Mm.
It's marbled beautifully, and he is saying that he crossed a Dexter with an Aberdeen Angus, and he'd ended up with this beef. Wow, honest to God, it's not the same, not marbled as Wagyu, nowhere near, but marbled a lot better than anything else I've had. And this kind of set me on a road that I'm never ever gonna go back down to anything lesser than this. It has to be the top of the range. If I do chicken, it has to be a corn-fed chicken, free range. Otherwise, chicken don't taste like chicken anymore.
No,
Chicken's just forced on. Give us your money. Give us your money. Bacon out the supermarket. Why people buy that? I am just shocked.
no. So I mean, when we do buy it occasionally because we can't find anything else, it's just ran full of salt water.
Yeah,
You cook
nitrates.
it and it just comes out.
And if you think about the water, so there's another thing as well. In my cookery, I don't use tap water in any part of my cookery. From washing my produce to boiling it to making my risotto, anything at all, I use spring water or mineral. I never use tap at all. Tap's got so many nasties in it. If you're essentially washing your strawberries in tap water, you're probably putting more rubbish onto them than you're washing off of them. No, I won't do that. So, and I kind of really quite passionate about the water that we use. And you were just saying then, the rubbish that you buy from Tesco's, that's impregnated with tap water and salt. But the salt they use, here's another thing. The salt they use here is only sodium chloride.
Yes.
Two damaging chemicals for the human body, sodium and chloride, yeah? I only use Celtic Sea or Himalayan, and I'm
Yes.
steering away a little bit from Himalayan because of the iodine in it can dehydrate you quicker. But I use Celtic and Sea, and that's all. And I'll only ever want to use the best products. Now, some people, I lose a bit of work when I tell people what my minimum is. But then I gain a lot more work because after people have eaten my food, I only advertised once 4 years ago. Once I advertised, and I've never advertised since, and I'm just working off of word of mouth.
But
I was
that
very
is
lucky.
the thing.
Yeah,
I think that is the thing that people want is you can't beat good quality produce. If you get top notch, then everything works perfectly
Excuse me.
from that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so when I like if I'm doing a fillet of beef for clients, I might buy it 4 days before the event, and I will season it with Celtic salt initially, wrap it up, put it in the fridge so it can I can maintain a form from it, get it on a sort of perfect shape. Then I'll take it out, cut it, and before I cook it, I'll season it then with sea salt because it's a finer flake, and I find that the Celtic salt penetrates right the way through the meat, and it kind of mineralizes it too. You can really taste it. Incredible. And
So how do you
go on.
wrap it up? I mean, what is the process with that? Is it a special linen or?
Oh no. So I use a non-PVC cling film, so you can minimise the amount of nasties that leach into the product. I season roll the cling film out, run a cloth over it so you can knock the static out of it. Then I season it heavy. The
Yeah.
thing with beef is I think people are too scared to season it, or they put a little sprinkle on. They ain't going to do anything. You got to season beef hard, I think. Yeah. There'll probably be a load of chefs come on here and tell me I'm doing it wrong now, but either way, this is how I do
But
it.
it's the thing is, it's all in the taste, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I roll it under compression. Yeah. So I keep a very tight roll. And then I kind of wind it up. Wind it up. No, that's not the right. Yeah, it's kind of wind it up. So make the cling film longer than the product. Wind it up like a little sausage. Tie them off.
Yeah.
Shake the product down so I can keep a uniform size right the way throughout. I only ever use mid fillet. I never use the chump end or the tail.
Yeah.
Because the size difference is going to mean different cooking time. And I want everyone to have almost exactly the same meal. That's super important for me. So that's why I do that. And then once it's been in the fridge for like 4 days, I can then cut that into the steak size. It'll all be perfectly sized, season it again, and away we go. When I'm making my red wine jus, I generally use a bottle of red wine, a beef stock that I've made, and then thicken that up. Depending on what the client is, if they're GFs, sorry about all you GF people that gluten free, yeah, or your dairy frees. You know, as much as we like cooking for you, we really don't.
So where do you source your red wine from? I mean, do you go first, second, third, fourth growth, or is this just
I'm
locally made?
No, so I'm fortunate. I know a couple of sommeliers. I can't mention where they work or who they are, but they do procure some extraordinarily fine wine for me. Sometimes this is wine that there's been maybe left behind by the client. Sometimes this is stuff that they've been given. Sometimes it's stuff from their own private cellar. But yeah, they generally procure this for me. At the moment, I really like using a Primitivo, and I've got a really good guy from a very well known hotel in London. I can't say the name either or who he is, but but he really looks after me. And this wine is exceptional, even on its own. Yeah, it's kind of so super full bodied, round, robust, almost chocolatey in its flavour. Ah, it's incredible. So I'm sort of championing that at the moment. I sometimes have to pair wines for the client, but I find that most people are really more into the food than they are into the wine, and that I prefer. You know, often I'll pair a wine with the steak, and the clients will only really drink a few little sips. They're more in love with the food. I like to do things a little bit differently than everybody else. I know that a lot of chefs cook on sous vide, and then just sort of sear the steak off at the last. I don't like to do that. I like to do mine the old-fashioned way, and I don't really understand how the sous vide works either. So that's probably why I don't do it.
So we talked a lot about what we traditionally called the mains. So what about the afters or the
Oh, mate.
so what is your speciality on the pudding side?
Crikey. Well, I've been recently making this white chocolate blondie. Um, Now, the first guest that I was making this for, one of them had a nut allergy. So I toasted sunflower seed and popped that in there in with this white chocolate blondie. And it was just a little bit too sweet. So I started putting freeze dried strawberry in there with it. And
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it's been renamed. I work with some other guys and it's been renamed the crack cake because one piece is never enough and you could just keep going and eat the entire thing. It's incredible. Yeah, really, really nice. That's nice. I like doing a bit with cloud meringue, and it'll make a sort of making fruity pearls. You know, like like in bubble tea. So
Yeah.
I make fruity pearls, and I envelop those in creme chantilly, and I'll make a little clamshell from cloud meringue. That's really quite sexy. Um, I love cooked pineapple. So I like it charred, yeah, almost not blackened, but charred. That's really great. I love serving that with a cheeky little creme anglaise and a homemade vanilla ice cream.
Mhm.
That's quite sexy.
So,
I'm
of
just trying.
course, you're using real vanilla.
Absolutely. You- the- I, so sometimes the provisions cost me sometimes half of what the guests are paying me.
Yes, yes.
Um, uh, I don't really mind that. I'm not really in this to make a fortune. I'm in this because this is my passion. This is what I love doing.
Yes,
And
but if you get good ingredients, then the people will come back.
that's correct.
I
I
mean,
have.
it's the same as going to McDonald's and you think, I'm not coming back.
There you go. Yeah. Excuse me. Yes. I'm just trying to think what else I do that people. So I make a sticky toffee pudding. You know, and everyone makes sticky toffee pudding, but mine I toast my walnuts and then I steep them in Jack Daniels smoked. So I do make smoked honey, and then I combine that with my JD. So I've now got a smoked honey bourbon, and
Yeah.
then I soak my walnuts in that for 48 hours, take them out, and then combine those in with the batter. Oh, mate, that's super sexy. Super sexy. Yeah, people love that. And I do a clotted cream custard and a clotted cream ice cream because I'm always torn. If I go to a restaurant and they have sticky toffee pudding, I want both. I want custard and ice cream. But they're invariably they'll only do it with one or the other.
Yes, yes. But then, do you want sort of plain custard, or do you
Oh
want
no.
thin custard? Do you want chunky custard, or do you want
Uh,
it with vanilla?
so I with my sticky toffee pudding, I'll make a proper custard, not a creme anglaise. So
Mhm.
proper custard wants to be thick, not so thick you could wallpaper your house with it, but thick enough that you can sort of run your finger through it and it doesn't fill the void straight away.
Yeah, I mean, you want it so that it stays on the food, rather
Yeah, absolutely.
dribbles away.
Nobody wants that.
No.
I love salted products. I love salted caramel. I love doing. I've got this little dish to do. It's it's more like a petit four really because it's a so what I'll do is I make a brownie first, and from the brownie I'll overcook that, and then I'll powder down the brownie so I can make the flour to make the chocolate pâte sucrée. I will then fill the chocolate pâte sucrée with a Biscoff buttercream. I'll
Yeah.
put a charred banana on the top of that, and then I'll drizzle that with a salted whipped honey, and then I'll top that again with a little bit of toasted coconut. And that is, excuse my French, that's knickers off material.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, you explain it, and I can taste it now.
Sorry about that.
So, what particular projects are you working on at the moment? And do you have any future projects? Do you?
Yeah. So right. Um, I should tell you this before because someone else is going to tell you anyway. Um, when I came back to the UK in I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the timeline. So about 2008, 2007, 2008, I went out to work in China as an independent financial advisor for an offshore bank,
Yeah.
legitimate this time, and hated it, hated China, wasn't really for me. Came back to the UK, and a friend of mine got me a job in Citibank as a trading floor manager. I'd never done this role before, didn't even know what I was doing really. And this job wasn't actually another. It was another. It wasn't actually a boiler room, but it was very very similar. And I ended up getting some prison time off of that. So whilst I was in prison, I never actually had any qualifications or nothing to
Yeah.
say that Stuart knows how to cook an egg. Nothing. And they gave me the opportunity while I was in there to go to college and do MVQ 1 and 2.
Mhm.
I did both of those, and then I did an extra MVQ in patisserie and confectionery, and ended up getting a merit in that for my pastry.
Mhm.
And that then set me really onto my super path. Anyway, so I'm glad I've got that out of the way before someone says, "Oh, don't forget he was been in prison." Yeah, I know I've been in prison, but I've come out the other side. I'm a different fella. So, future projects. Now, I hope my clients don't see this, otherwise, this might queer my pitch. But whilst I was in prison, there was a charity came in called the Liberty Choir,
Mhm.
and they bring sort of a singing session into the prison to sort of help to alleviate the stress of being behind the door for 23 or 24 hours a day. It is incredible. These guys literally saved my life while I was in there. Without that, I don't know what would have happened to me. Anyway, when I came out, I sort of reignited the friendship between us, and I went and did a family day in a prison for them, and I did a lot of canapes for them to give out to the staff, the friends and family, and the prisoners as well. Not a problem. So they've engaged with me and asked me to do another event for them. This is on the 9th of October, and they call me one of their graduates. It's quite nice, I think. And I'm doing a rolling canopy service of 300 on that night. So that's an awful lot of work. I've just been booked to do a wedding next year, and I've got quite a few big parties coming up throughout the rest of this year. I've got a nice big canopy, what I call bite and a half. Canopy is so small, you could just do it in one chew. So the client wanted something that was a little bit more, but he didn't want sort of finger food. So we're doing a sort of a larger style canapé. So it's like a bite and a half rather than just a mousse bouche. So that's quite nice working on that. I'm working on a range of sauces. Um, and I recently have been approached by a children's charity to write they first said cheap and cheerful, but now we've changed that to affordable and engaging. A menu for kids to be able to understand and get into. And they're explaining that the recipe book is aimed at kids who are on the breadline, kids who may be homeless or living in sheltered accommodation, and for this to be able to, for them to be able to make in the microwave, the kettle, or the toaster.
Yeah.
The three things that they won't have facilities to a fryer or a fan oven or anything like that, but they'll have that basic facilities. So I'm working on that, and I'm trying to find a supermarket that I can collaborate with, that we
Mhm.
could use their sort of budget end of their product to create this recipe book for, or with even.
Yes. Yes.
So that's sort of eating up a lot of my time, and I'm writing my book as well at the moment. That eats up an awful lot of my time. Excuse me, a little bit of hay fever. Yeah, that eats up a lot of my time too, and it's been my life's been extraordinarily colourful. I've only talked about a bit of it now, yeah, but so we're working on a chapter at the moment, and it's called "The Princes of Penis Palace."
Is that a real place?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, a friend of mine actually changed the deeds on his house, so it read Penis Palace. There were like 8 eligible bachelors living in this one swanky mansion in Berkshire. Yeah, there's a long time ago, mine. Not recently. I'm not that eligible now, or a bachelor even.
So you're very passionate about your work. So I mean, it's come across. But what is the best aspects of your job?
I get to cook really good quality food with love for people that want to eat really good quality food made with love.
That's
I,
amazing.
I
Yeah.
don't know how best else to describe it. I've started using a strapline now that good food isn't cheap and cheap food isn't good.
That's a good chap line. But
Uh,
I suppose that we can't have. Well, I mean, maybe we should go back to the old days of long maturing meat, even if it is more expensive.
Absolutely. Look, there's a reason food's cheap. It's because it's rubbish or it's filled with tap water and salt or sugar.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times when I'm making food, like when I do my ginger shot, I put turmeric, black pepper, and I put bee pollen in there as well. Bee pollen for a lot of reasons, you know, because it raises your own antihistamine level,
Mhm.
helps you with your allergies, and at this time of year, you know, I suffer with a bit of hay fever, so I should really shut up and drink some of my ginger shot. Um, so I kind of work with a kind of health as much as I can in mind. You know, some people I don't really. Okay, as much as I like cooking the steak for the clients, I never eat it myself. I'm essentially a vegetarian, but you know I have to taste the food. Otherwise, how do I know how it tastes like? And if it doesn't taste right, I've got to season it so it does.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Uh, um, so I have to taste the meat to a certain degree, but I don't go out and buy meat for myself, and I certainly don't cook it for my family
Mm.
because I understand the health implications with that. But whenever I cook anything for my clients, I always try and add as many healthy products in there as I can. Like, like we use a thing called structured water. Or I use a thing called structured water a lot of the time with my fruits and vegetables, and especially if I'm making something specific, like if I'm making a gravy or a jus, I'll be using structured water in that.
Mm.
And the structured, even if you read Wikipedia, it will tell you that structured water is a load of rubbish. But anybody can write on Wikipedia, so it's only someone else's point of view.
Yes.
I truly believe if you want to see if it's real or not, get some. Simple. Get some and drink it. So yeah. So I suppose they're crikey. They don't call me go off at a tangent, Stew, for nothing.
So it's going to be very hard for me to ask these questions, but I'll go
Crack
ahead.
on.
Because um, what is the best restaurant you have eaten at?
Oh crikey. I can't remember the name of it, but there was somewhere we ate before on Lake Geneva. On Lake Geneva. This was back when I was eating meat. They brought out this Chateaubriand on a skewer. They poured a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label over the top of it, torched it. After the vapor had finished off burning off, they cut this bit of steak. Was fucking outstanding. Either that or maybe Cafe de Paris. For me, oh no, maybe Le Gavroche. See, there's too many. There's too many to say. Oh goodness. Well, certainly not Hungry Horse or the Toby Carvery.
So, what is your traditional?
Simpsons of the Strand. That was fucking outstanding.
Uh,
Sorry, that
yes.
was outstanding. Yeah. Mm. Go on. What was your next question? Sorry, mate.
So, what is your traditional food favorite? I mean, I suppose it doesn't have
Oh,
to be UK based, but
bro, you know what? I'm the happiest man in the world with double egg and chips, good runny egg, free range. Come on, nothing beats that. Either that or a tom yum soup. Oh, that's exceptional. Or even a tom kha. Yeah, oh crikey, what's? But no, I think if I went to a restaurant and they served me egg and chips, I'd be over the moon.
so what is the most exceptional fruit that you've eaten? I mean, it
Oh,
sounds like you
okay.
may have been involved in eating non-standard fruit as well.
Yeah, so possibly Guiabano or mangosteen.
Mhm.
I spent a bit of time out in the Philippines, and some of the fruit out there was outstanding. Golden coconut, that was bloody good. Blue banana from Java, that was outstanding as well. Even red bananas are good. Mm. Custard apple, that's exceptional. But probably Guiabano or soursop, as it's known more commonly.
So we come into the meat of
Yeah,
it. So if you had your last meal, what sort
yeah.
of dining would you have? Would you have the dining with just your friends and family, or would it be with others? Would it be themed?
Oh, that's a very good question. I've always said this. If I was on death row and my last meal was something, I'd have a Chinese buffet that took me about 3 weeks to eat. um, I'd love me dad there. Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away in '94, but I would love him to be there. He loved his food. And I think a lot of his passion for food has helped me to sort of drive me on further into mine. I'd love him to be there. I'd love Bob Marley to be there because that would be a great fella around the table.
Mm-hmm.
I think some friends and family, it would be nice. George Williams, an old comedian that my dad knew, he would be exceptional at the table. I think that. And nothing too elaborate, you know. Something nice, wholesome, family style eating. Like even a good Sunday roast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of people that have picked Sunday roasts. So you'd have Sunday roast with all the trimmings, or
Oh goodness me! So I truly believe, right, that there's so many restaurants and pubs that are missing the biggest trick in the world. Because what they do is they do maybe a great cut of meat, and they'll maybe do 3 veg with it. Well, mate, you can get carrots anywhere. Paysan carrots are literally across the board. Who cares? Do them differently. Make them sexy. Why are you doing 3 veg? You want to be flooding the table with veg.
mm, mm, mm.
Cauliflower cheese. I went to the Bird in Hand the other day and I was absolutely fucking disgusted at their cauliflower cheese. I sent it back. And I never send food back because I know it just upsets the chef. But,
Yes,
mate,
yeah.
it was raw. It was rubbish. There's no flavour in the cheese sauce. I just thought, you taking the piss. Oh, sorry, I swear. What a joke. And you could do so much. Why would you want to be sticking with the same old thing? Carrots and peas. You're joking.
Mm.
No, you're missing the trick there. So I think myself, if you're going to do that, you want to have the greatest selection of vegetables that you can. Yeah, even a little ratatouille, I think, would be good with a
Yes,
Sunday roast.
yes.
Yeah,
Then I mean, that is something that should be, you know, in the media, where if you have fruit and veg, that is the way to go.
absolutely. And we are now, it's not like before when we only had the English market garden to go to. We've
Yes,
got
yes.
access to vegetables from all over the world. Why?
Mm.
Why are we having green beans, peas, and carrots?
I
Because
suppose because that's is the standard that they receive. They receive a predetermined delivery,
yeah,
and that's all they can do. They probably don't have the choice in getting the fruit and veg that they want to. But
yeah.
I think that would bring a lot of people in to those sort of restaurants.
And essentially you could offer us essentially the vegetarian version, obviously without the meat. But as long as
Yes,
you had a decent selection of vegetables, excuse me.
I mean, yes, I mean that is the thing. I mean, if you're a pure vegan, it's sometimes very difficult to get the food
Yeah,
because of the way it's been made.
absolutely. And I think if you're a pure vegan, you would really want to be inspecting all the kitchens before you eat in any establishment, because as much as they say it's a vegan dish, it may be, but are you cutting your vegan product with a knife that has cut meat? Are you cutting,
Yeah. Yes,
has
yes.
it touched dairy? Have
Mm.
you touched dairy? Is it kept in the fridge with dairy?
Yes, yeah.
How and I feel for the vegans a bit. They probably get a bit of a rough ride from everybody else because of their sort of lifestyle choice. But
Mm,
essentially, they're on the right track. Because I don't believe that the human being is made to eat meat. I believe it's a choice.
yes.
I'm probably going to get a load of grief for that as well. So bring on your hate, people. I've had it all my life. Bring it on. Um, but but essentially, the vegan diet is probably better for us. And I
Mm,
believe that the humans are essentially a seed dispersal unit. We're not made to be sedentary. We're made to be walking the earth, and we essentially eating fruit, depositing it. Another tree will grow from that.
yes.
Carry on and carry on and carry on, and that's how we should be populating the earth with plants. That's what I believe, anyway.
Yeah, I think we probably have too much meat in our diet. We
Yep.
probably need it sort of once a week at most.
There we go. Like we used to with the Sunday roast.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole thing
Yeah.
of fish on Friday.
Yeah. So you see how we've been herded into, oh, you got to eat 3 times a day. Breakfast, most important meal of the day. Rubbish.
But
No, I think the most important meal of the day is the meal you enjoy when you're most hungry.
but I think you are right. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research in vegan and vegetarian food. Um, to combat things like Alzheimer's and PTSD and cancers and so forth. And it is amazing that we're just fed a load of rubbish because it's cheap. And it means
Yes.
that more and more people, I mean, too much of this is blamed on COVID. I'm sort of convinced that you are what you eat, and if you have a poor sort of foodstuffs put in your mouth,
Yep.
they're cheap, and a number of people can't have that variety of food to get all the relevant nutrients.
Correct. Now, I'm sure you probably know this, but black pepper is vital to all the food you eat. It allows your body to absorb more nutrients and minerals from the food that you eat than without it. Hence why when you get turmeric capsules, they got black pepper in them.
Yeah.
Now, uh, uh, um, I know that a lot of people just do that naturally, black pepper on everything. So that's the kind of their bodies are telling them what to do, and they're doing it subconsciously without having to be told. But again, like you say, the processed foods or the foods you buy in the supermarket, and I just want to touch this quickly. I appreciate the supermarket, but you have murdered every local shop in the country. You've murdered them. You've
Mm.
put them out of business. You've undersold to just get rid of them. For what? Greed and money. And if you're a supermarket, you can only generalize in everything. You can't specialize in anything. Whereas your local grocer, he was specializing in that. He weren't selling tins of beans and handbags. He weren't selling video games and mobile phones. No, he just did what he did, like your local butcher still does what he does.
But
That's
I
why.
think, but I think people are moving more back to that, even though it's more expensive. I mean,
I think, yeah, you're right.
it's the wave.
I was talking with my son yesterday, and so I don't, we stopped buying. This is probably about 3 years ago. We stopped buying liquid soap, whatever, shower gel, after watching a guy, and he said, 1 bar of soap is equivalent to 8 bottles of shower gel.
Yeah,
Most of that shower gel goes straight down the plug hole. And then who's making any money then? You ain't making any money.
yeah.
So we started buying soap. And now we buy proper soap, handmade soap, yeah? And we were to say yesterday, if you're buying handmade soap, handmade proper toothpaste, yeah, not stuff with fluoride in it. There's one on the market, I think, called Toothpaste.
Mm.
If you're buying, we buy deodorant with no aluminium in it.
Yes.
One of the major causes to Alzheimer's is aluminium,
Mm.
prevalent in fluoride, or fluoride's a byproduct of aluminium. So if we can try and negate these things along the way, but by doing so, you're looking at £100 a month, easy, just to wash and clean yourself.
Yes,
Then if
it's
you and if
expensive.
you're on the bread line, what are you going to do? Eat or wash? You're going to eat, of course.
Well, it's that triangle now. Is it?
Yeah,
Do you wash yourself? Do you eat yourself? Do you heat yourself?
yeah. What do you do? Yeah, absolutely. We're quite fortunate, and I'm grateful for the fortunate place that I'm in, where I have the ability to buy a nice soap and to eat quite nice food, and on the occasion put the heating on or put another coat on.
So, I mean, these are the wrap up questions. So,
Sure.
what would you tell yourself, your younger self, in now, what they should have done, or the direction they should have followed in when they're 18?
Buy Bitcoin and XRP. You don't need to do
Well,
anything else. Buy as many
yes.
as you can. Never stop buying it.
Well, yes. I mean, there is the float of 2030 that it's going to be $1 million. So
Yeah. So why wouldn't you? Even if you get fractions of it now, you're still going
yeah,
to be laughing.
I mean, at the moment, since the gold standard has gone,
Yeah. Since
the
Gordon Brown sold the gold standard.
well, I mean, this is 1971 roughly.
Ah,
I
okay.
mean,
Oh, sorry.
the amount of borrowing has just gone through the roof. I mean, it's not even 45-degree angle;
No.
it's like 75-degree angle, and there's
Yeah.
no, they're just going to borrow more to pay for all of these pranks that they're trying to do. I mean, in America, they're still doing it, and we're going to do it in Europe. So
Absolutely. And I think America just keep printing more money, like China keep printing more money.
I'm
No,
convinced. I'm convinced that they're printing money and buying Nvidia, Microsoft, and Google.
yeah, I agree. And they're buying it offshore, so the money's got some value.
Well, they're buying it offshore, but they can just print. Well, they don't print it anymore. They just add it to the
More
register.
zeros.
No, they just add it to the register. I mean, it's the biggest lie that inflation is due to the Ukraine war.
Yeah,
Inflation
come
is
on.
due to borrowing. They've borrowed a ridiculous. I mean, I think they borrowed 3 times as much as needed during the Second World War.
Yeah, it's
You know,
insane.
both sides, and I mean, it's just amazing. But yeah, I mean, I'd have to save away a bit of money. I don't know how easy it is for you to get to Hertfordshire, but
Hertford, Hertfordshire. Where's Hertfordshire? North
uh,
Londonish.
yeah, North London, Stevenage.
Yeah, yeah, I know that.
I'll have to save up with my friends. I'll have to see if we can have a £100 head bash and invite you round.
Yeah, love to.
So how many people would you, what, 12 or so?
Yeah, 12's good.
I'll
Yeah.
have to look in the, and what sort of would you cook
Oh,
outside, or
mate. Okay, so I've just done a menu for a client a little while ago, and this is a beetroot and gin cured Scottish salmon, wild. Yeah.
Mm,
Served with toasted seeds, micro salad, and I make a little horseradish aioli with a roasted garlic.
mm,
That's quite sexy.
mm.
Then, so what's your penchants? What does everybody want to go for the beef? Everyone
Well,
always wants to
yes,
go
I
for the
mean
beef.
we do have a few vegans and vegetarians, but the majority
Don't
of
invite them.
they can have more salad.
Yeah, they can just watch outside.
Yeah,
I don't want their input.
yeah. I mean, I'm a bit confused as well that the vegan and vegetarian brigade haven't made it their food a lot tastier, because you look at other countries that do vegan, especially in Turkey,
Yeah.
and the food is amazing. And then you just think, oh, you go around the supermarket and you got a nut cutlet, and they haven't actually moved on
No,
from.
you're right. They haven't. So there's there's a company in, I think they're in Holborn, Islington, Holborn, something like that. And they are the vegan butcher's shop, or the vegan butchery.
Yeah, yeah,
Fuck, mate, some of their offering is outstanding. I would wholeheartedly recommend people to go and visit that. I don't make any money out of it. I'm not affiliated to him. I don't
yeah.
get any links. I don't get any profit share or anything like that. I'm really not even into that sort of thing. I'd rather help people out with the right information. But
Mm.
yeah, he does some outstanding stuff. I'm always a bit dubious about, if you're a vegan, why the fuck are you having something that tastes like meat but isn't meat?
Well, I mean, it's all this thing about sort of animal cruelty and so forth.
Yeah,
But then, I mean, they probably wouldn't be on the planet. But I think, if you're served this complete mess, I mean, that is why I try to stay away from the majority of meats unless I know it's a good quality.
sure. Well, I think I'd probably do this 32-day cave aged fillet of beef,
Mm.
stuffed with a black truffle duxelle.
Yeah.
Make that with some porcini and chestnut, I think.
Mm.
Stuff that, and maybe to make a little Stilton mousse and pipe that in there too.
Mm.
Wrap that with a bit of dry cured streaky bacon. Cook that rarish. Set that on the top of a lovely dry mash, buttered up, plenty of white pepper, bacon wrapped extra fine green beans,
Mm.
burnt butternut squash, and some heritage carrots, just softened, and then glazed with some thyme, ginger, and honey, and then a very very nice red wine jus.
Mm. Mm.
I think that would certainly make some people happy.
I think it would. Yeah.
And I think maybe a trio of desserts, because what's the point of having one?
Well,
Have
yeah.
three
This is
or
the thing.
five.
I mean, when I go to the restaurants, it's all about portion sizing. I mean, a lot of the time you just think, well, it's too much. I'd rather pay a little bit more, and they've thought about it a bit more rather than chuck in the same, and it's too much of a quantity.
Yes, I agree. That's why I like to do I like to do trio of desserts.
Mm.
Moreover, because you get a chance. For instance, if I'm going to a restaurant, often I'll have four starters and nothing else, and I
Yes,
can get. I've got essentially four different dishes,
yes, yes.
and it's tantalising with taste buds rather than being stuck with something, and one dessert. No, mate, come on.
Mm. I mean, I always do that when I go to the sort of the high end restaurants, have starters rather than a main course.
Yeah, good shout.
So, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's been great talking to you.
And you too, mate. Really, really good. And I'm sorry if I've waffled on a bit.
No, I mean that is amazing. I mean it's a lot of. I mean it's a lot of food for other people. I can distill this. I've got a number of great ideas because I'm trying to write for my podcast about sort of vegan and health, because I think that's what it is today. Is that you know a, that sort of food is easier to buy unprocessed.
Agreed.
You can cook it yourself. I mean, you probably can't do all of the nutrients that you need. Then you can just get CoQ10 as a supplement.
Yep.
But
Or even moringa. Do you use moringa?
I don't know about moringa. I'll have to do
Woo,
the
bro,
analysis.
dude, it's called the miracle plant.
Yeah.
such high concentrations of nutrients and minerals not found anywhere else. Another thing to have a look at is Shilajit. Ever heard of that?
No, I haven't. No.
Woo, dude! I'll send you some links.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that I mean, it's only when they've gone over the top with this pre-processing. You just had a little puddle of crap water and salt, and now they're just pumping it and just it's sort of
Yeah.
you have a well, occasionally we have bacon, and the amount of shrinkage is just ridiculous. I bet you get bacon and it rarely shrinks when you cook it.
Mine is amazing, mate. So I do for my breakfast. I do bacon two ways. I do a really crispy, streaky bacon, and that doesn't shrink at all. I render it really, really slow and low, maybe at 145 for about 25, 30 minutes. And the back bacon I flash about 11 minutes at 167, 168.
Yeah, yeah.
And no more than that. No more than that at all. And it is outstanding. Honestly, I've never had any white, white shite coming out of it. And I'll more than happily send you some of this bacon, mate. Honestly, it will change your day. Change your day.
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, maybe we can do some of this together, because it sounds like I'm trying to get forged on podcast. I think people need to know what they're eating, what the alternatives are. I mean,
sorry, I just wanted to say, that I'm built the same as you, 72 trillion cells, there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Every single cell in your body, every single one has a cannabinoid receptor.
Yeah.
Every one. Now, they don't have any ibuprofen receptors, chemotherapy receptors, don't have paracetamol receptors, don't have alcohol receptors, fucking none of them, but they all have a cannabinoid receptor. Every single cell.
Yes.
Why? That begs the question, doesn't it? Why? Now, other countries that are a lot more progressive than us, yeah, they're cooking with cannabis, and that's something I really want to get into. Not for getting you high, but more for the medical benefits of it.
Well, the problem with cooking with cannabis is that the opioid players are very, very strong, and they're all the biochemical companies.
Indeed.
Yeah, but I mean, people don't understand. So you have cannabis, THC, and what I can't remember.
CBD.
CBD. Yes, it makes you happy. On the one side, it cures the pain, and it can make you sort of stable, for want of a better word, and it can make you sleep.
Correct.
So
why wouldn't it be in your diet?
I know. I mean, because you've got the actual pharmaceutical companies have tied this up with drugs which haven't been properly tested, and there's so many problems with the long-term use of these drugs, and I'm convinced that if we just changed to cannabis, we could solve the issue.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I'm happy to do a collab with you, mate. Happy.
Yeah. I mean, we're not in control, but that is the thing. If we have if we can say, right, let's do a discussion about cannabis and diet. I'll do a bit of research. I'll try these other things that you send me.
Yeah.
And do a little bit of collab, and maybe we can do a collab and get it on OT or Channel 4 or whatever.
Why not? Nothing ventured.
No, you got to give it a go. I mean, well, it's a bit like you, isn't it? You've attempted something, it didn't work. You've segued, and you've come to an amazing spot.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, around in Hartford, there was a company that they you could phone them up and they would do Uber fine dining. So they would you would phone in and they would have an hour or two discussion about where you'd like to see and where you didn't want to see, what foods you like, and etc. And this is all of the high end, the Savoy, all the high end companies. And then they phone up and say, right, we've got a table of 6, and because they have so much clout, they organise where there are tables of 6.
Wow.
And they're still doing it. You phone up and they know your diet, and they say, "Oh, these people are free. They'll do a good job." I don't want to sit by the bathrooms. I don't want to sit in the middle. I want a nice corner.
Yeah.
And they've made an absolute fortune out of it. So it's something as simple as that, because a lot of people won't blink if they're paying 2,000 for a group.
Yeah. And rightly so.
Yeah.
You have to remember, you're not paying for that plate of food.
Yes.
You're paying for the last 35 years of that bloke, blood, sweat, and tears, burning himself, cutting himself, etc. For him, in order for him to be able to create that outstanding plate of food.
Yeah, but how many times do you cook something before you get it right? I mean, it must be 30, 40 times.
I think it's continual, because every time I think, oh, do you know what? I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try that. So on and so forth. Yeah. So I think it's a continual learning process. Unlike baking, because baking is a bit more of a science to it. I think. 200 grams of this has to be 200. Can't be 160 grams of that, 140. It has to be precise with baking. But yeah, you're right, mate. Takes a long time before you can get it right, and when it becomes instinctive, yeah, that's when you've kind of when you kind of hit your run, as it were. When it's instinctive, I don't ever time anything. Yes. I know, I know when it's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's with the eye. I mean, it's going to be awful in the next 10 years when you've got these automated fryers and automated sort of
AI cooking everything. Yeah,
that, and you just think it's going to be the same. It's going to be bland. We're going to have more and more bad meat.
Yep.
It's going to. I mean, it's the way forward, isn't it? I mean,
unfortunately, yeah.
It's only going to get worse because it's the big. I mean, it's amazing to me that the government has said, the nasty oil companies are going to be fined due to the pandemic and Ukraine. I don't actually see the factor, but why aren't the supermarkets fined for squeezing us during the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't get it.
No, nor me.
If you're going to go down that road, it should be those two organisations.
So I truly believe, right, it's to do with fluoride in the tap water, and every day you're brushing your teeth with fluoridated toothpaste. Think about, I always revert this back to, so wait, have you ever taken cocaine? If you have, you ever rubbed it on your gums? Why'd you fucking rub it on your gums? Fastest absorption. So if you think you're putting fluoride on your gums twice a day and they're telling you to do it for 2 minutes a time to increase the fluoride absorption, it's not going on your teeth, it's going in your body along with the tap water. Now, if fluoride was any fucking good, why did the Nazis put it in the water in the concentration camp? They care about the people's dental hygiene, they're about the gas. No. Population control. Fluoride is a neurotoxin. Fluoride boiled turns into fluorine, which is even fucking worse for you. But you can't tell the tap water drinkers, mate. You can't. I hope you don't drink tap water.
Well, there's a lot of people. Well, I mean, I either drink filtered, water or mineral water.
Yeah. I always say to people, are you not worth £2 a day? And if you are, get yourself down the Lidl and get yourself a 6-pack of water.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could speak forever, but
we could. But I appreciate we got to wrap this up.
I mean, it's worth putting a few ideas to me that I don't know, and I'll do a few other ideas.
Sure.
And we could do something. I don't know when you're free, but I'm going to talk to my friends and see if they want to have something nearer the end of the year. I don't know how busy you are.
Yeah, sure. I don't want to do anything in January. I want to go to Indonesia for a month.
Indonesia. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I've got a mate out there, and he says, "Come over, mate. Just get yourself a flight." He says, "Stay at my gaff. I'll give you keys. Use the car. Use whatever you want."
Mm.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a plan. So yeah, towards the end of the year would be better. Maybe
Yeah.
end of November,
Uh-huh.
somewhere through December, even.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
happy to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll speak to you again.
Yeah, sure you will.
Brilliant.
and possibly at length.
Well, I mean, we have to have a fight and make changes. I mean, at the moment, they're just mucking around on the edges. You know, they're saying, well, oh, you can't have high processed food next to schools, but some
What
of
have they
us,
got?
well, I mean, they're going to bring in this ruling that, you know, in certain elements, you want to have. I mean, they're saying that if you cook a sausage and put it in pastry, that's seen as high processed food, and you think,
Well,
uh,
oh, well, what is low processed food? A
well,
banana?
low processed food is probably raw, isn't it?
Yeah,
But the raw
but
ingredients, they're still crap, aren't they? They need
yeah,
to.
and they've had to go through a process because the farmers had to pull them out of the ground. They've had to go into his storage facility, chopped up, put in the packaging, sent out to the supermarket. How many more fucking processes has got to go through?
And then you've got, you know, the containers that it's sent out are plastic.
There you go. There you go.
8-9 weeks just sitting there.
So here's the thing for you, mate. If you've got any tinfoil in your house, chuck it the fuck out.
I know. I've seen that. It leaches so badly.
Yeah. Aluminium pots and pans, bin.
Yeah.
Down the scrapyard. Fucking no good to you. Anything non-stick, unless it's ceramic non-stick, is causing you death, which is essentially what they want, yeah? Have a look at low deuterium water. That's powerful, yeah? Super powerful. We produce a low deuterium water that's so low in deuterium. When we sent it off for testing with the Vietnamese Standard Ocean Water Institute, they said that our isotopes were lower in deuterium than theirs that they were going to test with.
I'll have to research all of this stuff. I've got a lot of work.
You have. So a chap that's worth watching on YouTube is a chap called Professor Dr. Gerald Pollock. And he's considered to be the godfather of water. Definitely worth a watch. He's got about a 15-minute video on a TED Talk. That's a good eye-opener. Yeah. Anyway, mate, on a let you poodle off. Yes. I've only got 2% battery now.
Well, yeah, I'll speak to you. Organize. Yeah. Something. Okay then.
Nice one. Cheers, Martin. Good to talk to you, mate.
Cheers. Bye then. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.